From Communications Center, the University of Texas at Austin, this is the Mexican-American Experience.
Corpus Christi was a small South Texas city in the 1940s. Located on the Gulf of Mexico, it was relatively unknown. But Chicanos returning from World War II soon changed that. After the war, Chicanos began to question their segregation from restaurants, public restrooms, Anglo hospital wards, neighborhoods, and schools. When a Chicano soldier was denied burial in Three Rivers, Texas because of his ethnic origin, Corpus Christi soon became a volatile city, seething with political activity. The civil rights struggle had begun. Dr. Hector Garcia was the man who helped usher in this new era, and he also founded the American GI Forum. I'm Linda Fregoso. This week I'll talk with Dr. Garcia about his life, his struggles, and his hopes for Chicanos.
The satisfaction of helping humanity, helping the suffering, helping the needy, helping my own brothers and sisters. That's what I want.
Por mi madre yo soy mexicano, por destino soy americano, yo soy de la raza de oro, yo soy Mexico-americano.
I learned long ago that my Anglo brothers had no personal objections to me, but they would tell me this, Dr. Garcia, we like you, you're a good man, you come from good schools, good family, we invite you want to join our clubs, our country clubs, our social clubs, fine. But you don't want that. You want us to respect and like every little Mexicano, no matter how they look like, how clean or dirty they are, how educated. You want us to treat them equally. I said, yes, that's what I want. I want my people in this land of democracy to have the same rights, privileges, and same treatment as anybody else. And these are the things I fought for.
Zacatecas a Minnesota, de Tijuana a Nueva York, dos países son mi tierra, los defiendo con mi honor.
Hector Pérez Garcia was born in Mexico in 1914 and later moved to South Texas. He graduated from the University of Texas School of Medicine at 26, and 2 years later, he joined the thousands of U.S. soldiers in World War II. As a major in an infantry engineer and medical corps, Garcia received the Bronze Star Medal and 6 battle stars. Yet coming home from the war, Garcia faced his biggest battle of all, stopping discrimination against Chicanos.
Our main problem was discrimination mostly at the Army Depot, Naval Air Station, public places, schools, hospitals, draft boards, restaurants, post offices, you name it. It was everywhere. I knew enough about history to realize that most of this discrimination and prejudice against it was based on the Texas Revolution of 1836, and then, of course, following the Mexican-American War of 1848. I thought, as I grew up, that it was mostly in Texas because of the Texas Revolution, the days of the Goldie and the Alamo. But I found out later, no, it was nationwide, even up in New York and Ohio. In Washington State, we got a lot of incidents wherein the Mexican-American were discriminated against and hated as much as, well, not as much, but certainly close to as much in Texas.
The famous Longoria case prompted Dr. Garcia to start the American GI Forum. Felix Longoria, a World War II soldier, died in the Philippines. In Three Rivers, Texas, the funeral director denied the Longoria family the use of the chapel and burial services because Longoria was a Mexican. The incident made international headlines, and with the help of then-Senator Lyndon Johnson and President Truman, Dr. Garcia secured the burial of Longoria in Arlington National Cemetery. Afterwards, the American GI Forum began to tackle other problems.
In 1947-48, when I got back from the World War II services, and I came back and came to Corpus Christi and found out that there was a great amount of discrimination against the Mexican-American people. Of course, I said Mexican-American people, Linda, because at that time, as you know, in Corpus Christi, that's all there were, Mexican-American people, no Hispanics in the broad sense, no había Cubanos. The American GI Forum didn't start as a civil rights organization. We started as a veterans family organization. We are still a veterans family organization. Our main objective at that time was we found out that we want to help the veterans get to the hospitals. So when we started working, opening the doors over there, we got hold of Congressman Johnny Lyle, and we finally were able to open some beds at the Veterans Hospital. We were able to open some beds at the Naval Air Station for veterans. Then we started working on the education of the veteran. When you realize in 1946, when World War II was over, the average education level of the Mexican-American veteran was less than 2 years of schooling. So then we thought we had to do something about it, so we started working what you called at that time basic educational classes, to set up schools, to help the veteran go to first and second, third, and fourth grade, and also get some money for going to school. It was at this time that I started finding out again how uneducated, how lack of opportunity of education the Mexican Americans had. And third, of course, we went and tangled that by simply increasing schools, opening up more schools, and seeing that the veterans got their money on time. They were dropping out of school because they were not getting the money on time. Then, of course, we went and attacked the hospitals here in Corpus Christi that would have separate wards for Mexican Americans, and they call whites. So wherein there would be, say, a ward with, say, 4 beds for Anglos that might be completely empty or have only one patient. The Mexican ward or wards would be filled up. They would want to put a Mexicana with the Anglo ward because they said, well, they're not supposed to go there. They would put them on the hallway, where we corrected that pretty fast by going directly to the director and said, well, you can't do this anymore. So we changed it. Then a question again of the lack of opportunities in promotion to the Mexican Americans at the Army Depot Naval Air Station. We also took care of this simply by contacting our congressmen and senators at that time, Senator Lyndon Johnson, and we corrected that. And of course, the post office, we finally ended up by complaining against the fact that although Mexican Americans worked in the post office, there were no superintendents. There were 9 windows, including the general delivery window, the money order window, the package window, and every other window, register window, but they would not let Mexican people work there. In fact, they would not let them work in any of the windows, and they would not let them even answer the telephone, see? Then we started working right away on the school situation. No había ningún superintendente, but then how can you have a Mexican-American principal when there's only 2 college graduates in the whole city of Corpus Christi in 48, see? So we started working on that, getting more teachers. We started shutting down some of the inferior Mexican-American schools because of the health conditions, not discrimination, health conditions. They were not properly arranged or built to take care of health problems. Then we started working again on every aspect of life, on real estate restrictions, which still exist, although not enforceable. They say, well, on this addition of the city, you cannot have any Mexican Americans living in this area unless they're going to be servants. You can have them in a separate house. See? Well, that was horrible. That included even not only the best, richest additions in Corpus Christi, but even the poorest ones.
Discrimination aimed at Chicanos existed since the Mexican-American War of 1848. Chicanos waged isolated battles against oppression all across the Southwest. But along with the American GI Forum, Dr. Garcia began to tackle discrimination through the legal system. I asked Dr. Garcia why Chicanos hadn't resorted to this before.
The people did not know their rights. We've been treating as inferior, and we came down to the point that we believe ourselves to be inferior, with the exception of a few of us who were educated. See? The Mexican people never considered themselves citizens, although they were born here. their parents were born here, they did not consider themselves citizens. So consequently, when they didn't consider themselves citizens, they thought they didn't have the rights as American citizens. We had to convince them and teach them that whether they be Mexican Americans or wherever they are, as long as they're citizens, they had the same rights. See, we didn't know our rights. Nobody told us our rights, and we were treated as inferior. We accepted this treatment because we were not citizens. Once we were able to register our people to vote and get to recognize they were citizens, and the children were citizens, then they were able to move along without any fear. For instance, your grandfather, he was born here, and his father was being born here, and he didn't know he was a citizen. So what rights did he have? None, because according to him, he did not know he was an American citizen.
Con tristeza y sin remedio voy a decir lo que siento. Y sin referirme a nadie para no hacer argumentos, solo culpo mi destino con profundo sentimiento. No más tan solo en pensar en las discriminaciones que sufrimos los latinos en ranchos y poblaciones, nos distinguen como ovejas algunos anglosajones. Yo no me refiero a nadie para no hacer argumentos. Pertenezco a Estados Unidos de seguro 100%, nadie me quita el derecho, pero guardo un sentimiento. Nací en el estado de Texas y he crecido con afanes, trabajando por la vida y enriqueciendo rufianes. He sufrido los desprecios de tejanos alemanes. No me duele lo que soy, ni lamento mi desgracia. Soy latinoamericano y sin distinción de raza, yo peleé por la igualdad y la santa democracia. Oh Diosito de mi vida, de nosotros no te alejas. Y el señor Don Harry Truman, que oiga siempre nuestras quejas, como el caso de Longoria en el estado de Texas. En mi despedida ruego que...
The civil rights fight was full of repercussions Dr. Garcia hadn't counted on. He was outspoken, unyielding when it came to demanding the equality of Chicanos. As a result, Dr. Garcia says he was called a rabble-rouser, and he became the target for racist attacks.
My family were being threatened. I was being threatened. I was having a lot of nasty articles written about me, and I've been called a lot of things. I have to take care of myself and my family. My car, for instance, would never have the doctor's emblem, which is called a caduceus, because, seeing a car that looked like mine with a caduceus was Dr. Hector Garcia. A lot of times I got threatening calls to the exchange that somebody is going to come over here and kill me. We got a lot of nasty letters threatening to kill me and my family. And fortunately, of course, at that time I was not afraid. I was pretty much young. And not necessarily were afraid of those things, but they were there. And fortunately, I was graduated from a good school, University of Texas School of Medicine. My professional comportment was always close to perfection. My patients were all Mexicanos. But it never worried me because here in Texas, you could have practiced medicine without having to be a member of the medical association. But I mean, that gave me sort of a sense of confidence that I could go ahead and achieve what I want to achieve, which is help the poor and the needy. And of course, the poor and the needy and uneducated were mostly Mexican Americans in the 48s and on up to till now, even today.
What kept you going if you had all these threats against your life and your family?
Well, the fact that we were advancing, progressing pretty rapid. We were moving so fast. For instance, as early as 1951, we were in New Mexico. In 52, we were in Colorado. In 1954, we were already moved, as you can see this map here, up to Ohio and Michigan. We were moving so fast and progressing so fast that first we did not seek any publicity. We never went to the newspaper. We never went to the news media. Why? Because if we let people know how much progress we're making in the civil rights, education, or organizational work, we went ahead and proceeded. But if we gave a lot of publicity, Linda, the opposition would know about it and crystallize it. For the other thing that happened, we make great friendships. The organization and myself, and I would say the organization because without the organization, I would not have been able to achieve anything. In contacting federal friends, people beginning like Senator Johnson, then Vice President Johnson, Congressman Lyle, Congressman Young, President Kennedy, all the senators that we knew, Senator Kennedy and his brother, Ted Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, and Speaker of the House, we had personal acquaintance with the organization in about 33, 34 states with the senators and the congressmen. So we had this prestige and recognition, which again gave us the power to, instead of hitting ourselves on the state level with a problem, we would always move into the national level and get solution to the problem.
And those federal friends brought Dr. Garcia lucrative rewards. In 1967, he was a delegate to the 22nd General Assembly of the United Nations. As the first Chicano ambassador from the U.S., Dr. Garcia addressed the UN in Spanish. In 1968, he accompanied former Vice President Hubert Humphrey for the signing of the Treaty of Tlatelolco in Mexico City. And that same year, he was sworn in as a commissioner of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. One of the offers he didn't take was the ambassadorship to a Latin American country.
I was offered ambassadorship early 1960 by the Kennedys, who ambassadorship to a Latin American country. We didn't go proceed as to what country because simply I was not interested in. And I'd rather stay here with the people. I fear my leaving at 60, 61 would be a detrimental to the civil rights movement, and it would have been as I look back. I also had the rank of special as a representative of President John F. Kennedy in early 1961, when I signed a treaty for this country, for the United States of America, signing a treaty with the Federation of the West Indies on mutual defense. So I got all those things, and I said, I got them, and I restayed my position, not because I was a doctor, or because I was educated, or I got it because I represented the people through the American GI form. It was recognition given to the American GI form. And as you remember, in 1961, you see a picture with President Kennedy over there. He told me, he said, Dr. Garcia, you take this picture. He told me this about March of 61. He said, Dr. Garcia, I want to show you this picture. Take it wherever you go and show it to the Mexican people. He said, Mexican people. And tell them I want to thank them for having elected me president. And I thought all those things very nice. Of course, I led it's a beautiful life that I've led. It has its drawbacks. But those things made it possible that I could help the people, and I could help the people. I could call the White House. Certainly once Johnson got in there, Kennedy got in there, I had special contacts with all the administrations.
Dos idiomas y dos países, dos culturas tengo yo. En mi suerte tengo orgullo, porque así lo manda
In spite of the pressures, the threats on his life, and the countless setbacks, Dr. Garcia says he would do it all over again. The glamour, the national and world friends, the trips in and out of the White House weren't what motivated him. He credits his parents for ingraining a sense of service to humanity.
I have been taught by my mother and my father two things. From my mother, I learned the love of people and assist people and the needy. And from my father, I got the feeling of discipline and achievement that we could achieve whatever we wanted to. I could be anything else, everything else I guess I wanted to, except I chose a doctor to help the needy and the suffering. As far as any monetary gain, if I was to die today in 81, I die a poor man. I think I did the right choosing. I served my country in World War II as an infantry officer, engineer, medical corps. I chose a profession to help humanity with their suffering as a doctor. At the same time, the profession was good enough to me that I was independent monetary to do all this organizational work. I love people. I love all kinds of people. In fact, sometimes I love them too much. In other words, I worry too much about them, Linda, to the point that it gets on my conscience and my heart. I wouldn't have done anything different. I think we were lucky. We were lucky in our strategy of circumventing this local, county and state setup like in Texas and other states and going to the federal government. It was a beautiful strategy. We were also lucky in going so early and fighting cases in the federal courts and winning them. I don't think I would have changed anything except possibly they were getting better health than I've had.
Today, things aren't as easy for Dr. Garcia. He continues his activities with the GI Forum, but he's not as vocal as before. In the last 2 years, Dr. Garcia has been plagued with his own share of health problems, and his medical practice in the barrio takes up most of his time and energy. Yet Dr. Garcia continues to worry about civil rights, primarily because he sees the gains Chicanos made slowly deteriorating.
I would say since the last 2 years, which now we're talking now about 81, certainly since the latter part of 79, and certainly since 1980, Linda, there has been an open, overt, a movement to make and mistreat and deny the rights of Mexican Americans. We're going backwards. We're going backwards that we're able to hold back this thing, at least, to keep it covered up about the hate and prejudice against us. Now it's coming up in the open again. So the problems are still there. What can be done about it, I don't know. Now, fortunately, most of this thing will have to handle on an individual basis, but the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has lost a lot of its power. The administration, Reagan's administration, said they will not use busing. Our people are being denied their even things like food stamps and Social Security, which affects them very much. I say the problems of Mexican American people today are discrimination in education, employment, and also in government programs. That's a discrimination. Of course, now that you can go ahead and scare anybody, threaten anybody with the federal government action, because the federal government in 1981 and 82 will not take sides with the poor, the Mexican Americans, or I would even say the blacks.
Why has there been this change, do you think?
Oh, I really don't know. I think the change has been around. For instance, the federal government has said that they're going to turn things back to the state, let the state handle them. We know that the states on the individual basis were the greatest discriminators against us. That's why we circumvented the states. We always went to the federal government. All of the relief that we got, all the improvements that we got, all the appointments that we got, all the recognition that we got, all the advancement in education that we got, Linda, was from the federal government, not the state government. So again, the answer is simply this: we were able to make all those improvements without any hesitation through the federal intervention and government, which we don't have it now.
And through the pessimism, Dr. Garcia is hopeful that Chicanos will continue to fight for their rights in this country.
From what I have known through all those great depressions and wars, the Mexican American people has been saved by only one thing: the unity and love for family. And I still see it existing amongst us. I see it every day as a doctor when somebody gets sick or is dying. I see it when somebody needs blood. I see it when a little boy needs special care or medicine or money. This is what has saved us, y que Dios nos cuide y nos ayude en que sigamos siendo una familia unida, la gran familia México-americana o mexicana, llena de amor y cariño y ternura para todos nosotros.
Dr. Hector P Garcia, founder of the American GI Forum in Corpus Christi, Texas. Technical producer is Walter Morgan. For the Mexican American Experience, I'm Linda Fregoso.
You've been listening to The Mexican American Experience, a series of weekly programs focusing on the second largest minority in the United States, the Chicano. Comments are welcome, and copies of this program are available and may be obtained by writing The Mexican American Experience, Communications Center, the University of Texas at Austin, 78712. This program is distributed by the Communications Center at UT Austin and does not necessarily reflect the views of the Communications Center staff or the University of Texas at Austin. This is the Longhorn Radio Network.